Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Marr, and I am about to start a series of videos that I think is really going to help you with your first really big project. Um, we're going to do portraits. We're going to do portraits based on what you've already learned in some different exercises related to value. And the key thing that we really want to focus on in this is value. There are lots of other aspects to it. Some of them we're going to spend some time with separately, like relative proportion. But just to remind you, those are the exercises you've already done. There are little videos on that. If you're not a member of this class, which is an Art Foundation's entry-level high school art class. And I'm going to take it slow, do a bunch of little videos so that it'll fit into our hybrid learning system. So number one, you're going to be doing self-portraits. And we're going to work on skill. We're going to work on the understanding of the concepts, and we're going to work on how it communicates to the viewer. The very first thing, and you've heard me say this before, is the foundation needs to be strong, particularly to keep you engaged in this project, because it's going to be longer than any other project we've done. So choosing the image is a big part of making it a strong piece of artwork in the end that you're going to be happy with and proud of, and making it something that you're going to be excited about because it's going to be a longer project. So take the time now to build the foundation and have a strong composition. There's two things that I think we really need to think about: how it's laid out on the page and how it reflects you personally. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the other camera, and we're going to talk about that. First of all, you're going to do photographs. First of all, we need to know that this is not necessarily the ultimate best way to do portraiture. If we could have a model sitting in front of us all the time and it was three-dimensional and you could get great lighting, that would be an awesome thing. Where you're only in school 2 days a week and less than an hour each time I see you, we're going to use photographs. And that photograph, the better your photograph is, the stronger your end result will be. So think about that now. And one of the things you want to think about is what you're saying to the viewer. So it shouldn't be a mugshot. It should be an image and a composition with choices that really reflect you. So think about facial expressions. Think about gesture. Um, if you're a cheerleader, maybe you're in a pose that relates to cheerleading. Think about the clothing you wear. What does it reflect about you? This is also true if you're doing portraits of anybody else or you're just doing some sort of narrative art. The more you can give the viewer clues, the stronger your communication is going to be. Maybe the environment you're in. Maybe the background has the posters. If it's in your room, maybe it's got posters of the bands you love on the wall. Maybe you're wearing clothing that relates to, I don't know, maybe you work at, I don't know, McDonald's and you're wearing your McDonald's uniform, or whatever it is you want to reflect about you. Supporting characters. It could be your dog. Maybe you love your dog and your dog's in the picture. That's up to you. That's what's going to personalize this. But think about all that. The other thing you want to think about, and I don't even have it listed here, is when you go to compose your photograph, and we're going to work from photographs, think about your camera angle, okay? You don't have to be dead ahead, straight, eyeball to eyeball, between the camera and the viewer. You can take a position that's above or below or to the left or to the right. You can think about everything we've talked about in terms of rules of thirds, where you don't put your face dead center of the photograph. You might be off to the left a little and you see something that's important to you to the right. Maybe you love the beach, and you can see the beach in the background, a little more to one side than another. Okay, maybe there's a secondary focal point in the background. Okay, so think about the angle. Um, and in terms of composition, we're going to also talk about framing. Now, I showed you a bunch of photographs in school, but I don't have rights to use them. I didn't think about asking for that in advance. So I do have one photo that I'm going to work with that is a photo of a friend, another teacher in the school, and her cousin took it. And her cousin's name is Ashley Brito, and I just adore the photo. So we're going to work from that. And this is the photo that we're talking about. Okay. Now, this is the actual photo that she gave me. And what I like about it is it says a lot about this little baby girl. Okay. Um, First of all, clearly we know that there's someone in her life that's a firefighter. Okay. There's a name on a hat in the background, which belongs to somebody that's close to her. And there's also, you can't see it completely, but if you know the town, you would know what town this person's a firefighter in. Just the gesture. We know this baby is very content and very happy by both the fact she's just snuggled up in that hat and the look on her face. So in terms of all the things we were talking about, there's facial expression, there's gesture, not really clothing, but the lack of clothing actually, lets you know it's just a tiny little baby in a diaper. And props, there's the hats. There's not a lot of environment in the background, but that's okay. You don't need all of these things all of the time. So let's think about how we're going to lay it out. Assuming you're the photographer, or somebody's doing it for you, maybe your mom or dad or friend is taking the picture for you. There could have been other photos in this series that are taken from a little higher, a little lower, or maybe the baby was moved in different positions and poses within this. But this is the one that we're going with. Once you've decided on the actual photo of the series that you want to work with, then think about how you're going to crop it. This picture says a lot in terms of the props. Okay. You could zoom in and focus more on the expression and the baby, or maybe you just want to change the shape of the composition because you're going to, you're also thinking about all those aesthetic terms like balance and movement. All of that plays into your decision that you're making at this stage of the game. So now is the time to really think about that. Down the road, we're going to put a lot of that on autopilot and just work with the particular composition you choose. And then it's going to be more about value and texture and contrast and making a flat page look three-dimensional with lighting and shadows. So now is the time to get that framework done. I always say that, like, if you're building a house, doesn't matter how pretty you paint it, it's the framing of the house that's going to make it last. Okay. So you could be a really phenomenal artist, but if you have a lousy composition, you're not going to love it in the end. What we're going to find is 2 weeks into it, you're going to be saying, oh, I wish I did this and I wish I did that. Now's the time to think about that. When you come into school for your in-person days, you're going to bring a black and white copy, printed kind of small because we're going to take some liberties with the relative proportion part. That's going to be in the next video. But you want to decide on how you want it laid out, have a copy of that. I would have a bigger copy so that when you go to look at details, you're going to be able to see it better. We may put it in an overhead projector, which is why I want a small version. But you're also going to make it black and white, because what that does is it helps you to just close your mind to color for a little while and focus on the values. Okay, believe me, we'll do color, and value will be important in color down the road. But for right now, we're just really focusing on values. So if you have a black and white copy, it's going to do a lot of the work for you. Now, I cannot stress enough, when you take this photo, it's going to be flat just because it's a photo. It's probably going to have less detail depending on your printer. The whole digital aspect of it flattens it out. So this is not ideal. Having this baby posed like that for a really long length of time could be better in terms of your art. However, that's not practical. So do the best you can. think about the fact that this is the roadmap for you. So you want to have some shadow and some highlight so that you know where to put the darks and the lights when you're doing your drawing. You don't want a photo that's washed out with a flame, washed out with a flash. You don't want a photo that's completely in shadow. You want that range of values from the darkest darks to the lightest lights. Okay? So think about that. See how it looks in black and white, but be conscious of it the whole while. Okay? If you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. That's your assignment for this week, is to come up with a strong composition that reflects your personality, your loves, and have it as a black and white photo when you come into class the next time. Have a great day.